this time of year Lent, and it's a time leading up to Easter where we focus on our lives. It's a time of repentance. It's a time of admitting sin, the things that we've done wrong. It's a time of talking about the things that separate us from God. And so during these next weeks, we'll be talking about walls and the walls that separate us from God, the walls that keep us from God. And the walls ultimately are walls that we build. They're walls that we create. And we create them because we're afraid that if people see who we really are, they won't love us. So we build a wall, and we put inside that wall all the things that we've done wrong, so that nobody will know, so that they'll love us. Problem is that when we start putting pieces of ourselves inside a wall, then the person that other people see isn't us. Somebody else. And so they might love that person. They might think that person is pretty great, but it's not you. It's not me. It's not who we are. If we put parts of ourselves behind walls to keep people, to make sure that people love us, all we're doing is we're preventing them from loving us because they don't know who we are. And that wall ultimately is a wall of separation with God as well. What happens is it looks like God has gone missing, but really we're the ones that have gone missing because we put ourselves away where God can't reach us, where God can't touch us. And so in the course of the next weeks, we'll be talking about different walls, the different walls that we put up, and we'll talk about the effects that they have in our lives. But this whole idea of putting parts of ourselves behind the wall, it creates different identities. It creates, you know me as one person, you know me as another person, you know me as another person. And so we don't be who we are. So how are you going to buy a car? Or you show up with a kind of car and people are like, wait a minute, I thought you were a sedan guy. Hold on a second. You were a minivan person. People don't know us. They don't know who we are. Identity gets split into 5, 6, 7, 8 different pieces. And if you want to talk about identity, you want to talk to a group of people that have always had identity, let's talk about the Jews. Because Judaism has a very, very strong sense of identity. And you think of what's going on. It's been around for thousands of years. And you think about everything that's happened. I mean, first there's the Holocaust. The greatest crime ever committed in history. But there have also been all kinds of little persecutions, wars. There were famines, pestilences. Pretty much you name it, it happened. They had kingdoms that they built up. They had kingdoms that got torn down, and they built them back up again. They got torn down again. They built the temple that got torn down. They built the temple that came down again. They've been up, down, everywhere. You name it, it's happened to them. And they keep this identity of who they are. And it's not because of belief. See, this is fascinating. There is a thing called Jewish atheism. It's this whole thing. You can go home and wiki it. There's a whole wiki page about Jewish atheism. Because you can be a Jew and be an atheist. Because Judaism is not what we think of as a religion. When I think of a religion, I think of an intellectual set of propositions that explain God or who God is. It's a thing that you either agree with or you don't agree with. Judaism is not that. Judaism is an identity. You are Jewish. It is who you are. You can not go to worship and be Jewish. You can not know any other people and be Jewish. You can be an atheist and be Jewish. And it all comes back to what you just heard. That story. A wandering Aramean was my ancestor. Ask any Jew, that's who they are. And the Passover, which is the big celebration every year, is a celebration of the Exodus, that story that I just described. And they actually say at the Passover today, when we were slaves in Egypt. Not when they, not when the other people, not when the people that came before us, when we were slaves in Egypt. That's who they are. That is an identity. And that kind of identity has held up for a long time. And you can't change your ancestors. I mean, you can change a lot of things. You can change your job. You can change where you live. I was watching Caprica the other night. It's on Sci-Fi. And these parents, their daughter died in a attack, and some people thought that she was the terrorist. So they were talking about whether they should go on the news and discuss her troubled life. And the mom says, we cannot go out there and talk about our daughter this way. We're parents. And the dad goes, no, we're not. And I was like, whoa. But you can stop being a parent. You can stop being lots of things. You can change just about everything, but you cannot change your ancestors. I am Bob Seekey's son, period. Can't do anything about it. I am Janice Wilcox's grandson. Can't change it. You cannot change your ancestors. It is an identity that stays, that sticks. There's nothing you can do about it. You can go hide behind as many walls as you want. You can splinter yourself up into a gazillion pieces, but that will never change who you are with your ancestors. It never goes away. And for the Jewish people, that is their root. That is who they are. Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but Christianity came from Judaism. Pretty cool. Jacob, this ancestor, this wandering Aramean, is not just the ancestor of the Jews. He is an ancestor of me. Because I chose him. You know? God chose me. You can choose to be Jewish. You can choose to be Christian. And when you join that family, when you join that community, you take on that identity. You don't have to be born into it. It's something that you can receive. And as Christians, we receive that in baptism.